Jeffrey Epstein now threatening to derail Trump's agenda. On Capitol Hill tonight, Epstein is front and center. Several Republican holdouts are saying they will not move forward on a vote on Trump's DOJ cuts unless they get Epstein too. And House Speaker Mike Johnson's back is up against the wall because the House faces a Friday deadline at midnight. So we're counting down here to act on Trump's cuts to the government funding package. And GOP holdouts say that their constituents are the ones that are demanding answers on Jeffrey Epstein, as MAGA media is not letting up.
Trump has done a F minus. I mean, my God, it's worse than an F. I mean, it's like a 0 on the Streisand affecting and not having clarity and flip-flopping back and forth. It's just been horrifying.
Trump did this to himself. And it's not even about, let's say, Epstein hooking him up with some hot 20-year-old 40 years ago. It's the fact that he came out and insulted his base and said it was a hoax. And so the whole thing is just crazy, and I don't want to get in all of it now. We'll get into it coming up, but it's just going to get worse.
All right. The man you heard speaking right there at the end was someone who spent time in jail because of his role leading up to January 6th. All right, so the people who are saying this aren't people who were on the fence about Trump. These are the people who vaulted Trump back to the White House, like Nick Fuentes, the white nationalist whom Trump has hosted at Mar-a-Lago.
And now he says, if you're not on board with the Epstein cover-up, oh, I don't want your support. You're a weakling. You. You. You suck. You are fat. You are a joke. You are stupid. You are not funny. You are not as smart as you think you are. We are going to look back on the MAGA movement as the biggest scam in American history.
I mean, to think that those words came out of his mouth, they're going to look back on the MAGA movement as the biggest scam in American history. I mean, these are people who made their names on the MAGA movement, inside the MAGA movement, by support of Trump. And their attacks are heard by millions and millions. And then there's Elon Musk, who's also stepping up his calls for more information. Today, he posted this, "Where's phase 2?" And alongside that was a picture of the Epstein files, phase 1. Now, the White House is doing all that it can to make this story go away. In fact, the administration is completely trying to change the subject. They'd rather talk about Trump's swollen ankles, for God's sake. And the Attorney General today went to Alcatraz, Pam Bondi touring the 91-year-old former federal prison because of Trump's desire to transform that national park back into a prison. And following Bondi, the pro-Trump network, Fox News, California's Governor Gavin Newsom's office responding with a statement to that, saying Pam Bondi will reopen Alcatraz same day Trump lets her release the Epstein files. So, well, if you listen to the White House, though, there is no desire at this moment to release more information on Epstein.
It was this president who directed the Department of Justice and the Attorney General to do an exhaustive review of all files related to Jeffrey Epstein, which they did. They spent many months going through all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein, and they concluded what they found in that memo, which they drafted and they released. And so the president has been transparent.
Of course, all those questions still remain. Nothing? Of all the rich and powerful people who associated with Epstein over so many years, there's absolutely nothing for anyone to see. Let's go to Manu Raju live on Capitol Hill. I mean, Manu, what you are watching unfold on Capitol Hill, GOP versus GOP when it comes to a signature bill Trump wants to pass, and a whole lot of members of the GOP say, no way, not until we get Epstein.
Yeah, this is a fight that's really been intensifying all week long from Donald Trump's closest allies on Capitol Hill who are demanding more information or simply shrugging off all of Trump's attacks against them. Trump has tried to call them foolish. He's called some of them stupid. He called this a Democratic hoax. Many of them are simply saying, that's fine. You can say that, Mr. President, but we still want this information released. And Speaker Mike Johnson has to contend with the reality of the narrowness of his majority in the House. If any handful of members decide they want something and hold out their support, he has to listen to them and potentially cater to their demands. And that is exactly what is happening with this bill that Donald Trump wants passed by the end of this week, by the end of Friday the bill to cut roughly $9 billion in federal funding for foreign aid and for public broadcasting. But those holdouts want a vote, a separate vote on an Epstein-related matter, potentially to release all of the Epstein files. And that has been the source of the negotiations, intense negotiations that have been happening all day long. Now, Aaron, I am told that the Republican leaders plan to still have a vote tonight on this bill to cut roughly $9 billion. And there's some signs that there potentially could be a resolution with those Republican holdouts. And in a key meeting that is happening right now in the House, Democrats are pressing for information about any deal that was released related to Jeffrey Epstein. The Republicans on that committee so far have not divulged the details about a deal, about any separate vote related to Jeffrey Epstein. But as one of the key questions tonight in the Capitol, what did Johnson have to agree to on Jeffrey Epstein to get to Trump's agenda moving ahead as they plan to do so to get this bill passed by the end of the night, Aaron?
All right. Thank you very much, Manu. So I want to go straight out front now to someone in the center of all of this. That is the Republican Congressman Tim Burchett. He is a co-sponsor of a resolution in the House to release files on Jeffrey Epstein. I very much appreciate your time. So Manu's reporting, maybe there's a vote that will happen, that maybe Johnson has agreed to something on Epstein. You're obviously in the center of this. You're central to this legislation. Is there an agreement at this point?
No, ma'am, there's not. And honestly, if the Democrats were serious about this issue, they wouldn't have waited 4 years to bring it up. This is all politics. We need to be worrying about the victims in this thing, and we need to worry about justice and these dirt bags that were involved with these kids, and we need to publicly ridicule them and possibly hang them. But the reality is there probably isn't a list. I've known a few criminals in my life. Heck, I've served in elected office with a few of them, and they don't keep a list of their criminal activities. And Trump's not on this list, because if he was, Biden would have released it the first day. So it's a lot of politics and a lot of hype. We just need to get to the bottom of it, ma'am. And unfortunately, in this town, when it's delayed, it's kind of like the Kennedy assassination. We're never going to get to the bottom of it.
Well, of course, we don't know who's on the list. And to your point, right, list is a euphemism, right, for knowing who Jeffrey Epstein was dealing with, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was sleeping with underage girls, who was financing all of those things we don't know.
No, let's correct that. Let me correct you on. Wait,
yeah.
ma'am, let me correct you on something. Who was raping underage girls? You do not have sex with an underage girl, ma'am. You rape them, and that is what this is about. So, we try to soften that, but that was a horrible act of violence against these young
Well,
young
I agree
women.
with you.
Yes, ma'am.
I agree
Thank
with
you.
you, and I happen to agree that we should know every single person involved. Do you think that Pam Bondi is listening to you at this moment, Congressman, that there's any chance that she's going to release the files, and in a way that you would have confidence on what's in those files?
I don't have a lot of confidence in her, ma'am. I think she's way out over her skis in this thing. She released that notebook, which was stuff that you and I would already know. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she didn't follow it. I think she took some bad advice. She's in the prime time, gets thrown in the middle of it, and I think she took some bad advice. But then when she followed it up with the list on my desk, and then there is no list, I get tired of that. One thing I think people ought to wonder about, though, is these flight logs, which are generally public record, but that doesn't necessarily mean somebody's a pedophile. That's why I think we need somebody in the legal community to oversee this, to make sure none of the kids' rights are violated. We don't want to see pictures of children. We don't want their identification, anybody that was abused. But if the person is suspected of a crime, dadgummit, we ought to have that information, and that's what it should always be about.
So I know that you have wanted to have Ghislaine Maxwell testify before Congress. And of course, while Jeffrey Epstein died before his trial, she is serving 20 years for her role in assisting him.
Yeah.
So have you gotten a response, Congressman Burchett, from the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, or from leadership saying that they're willing to hear from the one person who actually could answer all these questions?
I haven't yet, ma'am. I need to run into Chairman Comer. I haven't seen him yet in the last couple of days, but and you can call me Tim, by the way. But I don't think Comer's going to duck me out on this one. He's going to do what's right. He's a stand-up guy on these types of issues. He's a family man as well, like I am. So I think he's there. Ultimately, though, ma'am, I'm going to have to answer to my creator on this issue. It's not the voters or even the president. You know, as a Christian, I'm not a very good one, obviously. I'm on the far end of the forgiven spectrum, but the Bible talks about how you treat the least amongst you, and that's Jesus talking, and that's some pretty strong medicine right there, ma'am. The least amongst us definitely are these children, and we need to get to the bottom of this, because first of all, we need to send a message to these godless dirtbags that abuse children that we're not going to stand for it. And second of all, we need to send a message to all the victims in the world, in this country anyway, that we are out there fighting for you. I've held the hands of people that have been molested and abused, and ma'am, they have a life sentence. They never get over it. Lifetime of counseling, guilt, horrible things. They do horrible things to their bodies, and it is just it's a horrendous thing. I passed some of the toughest laws in the country when I was in the state legislature. I know all about this issue.